Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 215 based on novel. So let's start. The collapse of the storage space made it so that he had to use the origin blood fusion spell. Then he considered himself unlucky to have met that old man that took half of his origin soul along with half the origin energy that he had spent countless years cultivating. This caused his cultivation level to reduce greatly, but that would have been fine if not for the old man's last attack that caused him to revert back to the state of slumber where he had to wait for the drops of blood to gather once more. In addition, the old man's attack contained a powerful force that acted like a prison. Just when his fusion reached the critical moment and he was about to awaken again, Wang Lin appeared. The blood ancestor had been met with countless setbacks, so in the end he could only escape. At this moment, he was extremely weak and his origin soul was filled with a monstrous sense of anger. Wang Lin, you and I can't coexist. The blood ancestor let out a mad roar and charged into the void. He had lost all his reasoning. If anyone else had been through all this, they would also lose their reason. In particular, the restriction left by the mysterious old man also made him go crazy. He immediately turned and chased after where Wang Lin disappeared. I'd rather not heal my injuries and kill you instead. The fragment Wang Lin was on slowly floated through the void. Wang Lin's eyes were shut and the celestial sword circled around him. Shuligwa floated beside him with a bitter face and muttered, I should have left, but I can't leave this fiend here. Alas, I, Shuligwa, am a loyal person and definitely can't do something like abandoning my master. I didn't run this time, so the fiend will value me more and give me more benefits in the future. Hee, your Granda Shu is clever. Shuligwa's eyes turned and he made a decision. Besides, this fiend is only an avatar. His original body, thinking about Wang Lin's original body, he shivered. If there was only one person that he feared from his heart, it was Wang Lin's original body. In the Alliance star system, there was an abandoned planet giving off thunder. Deep inside the planet there was a naturally formed cave filled with thunder, and there was a person sitting cross-legged inside. His red hair was like blood and his body gave off a chilling aura. There were 4 stars slowly rotating between his eyebrows. As he cultivated, strands of spiritual energy came from all directions and entered his body. He suddenly opened his eyes. Inside his calm gaze lied a trace of terrifying killing intent. Blood ancestor. You forced my avatar into a coma. How can I let this matter go? He was Wang Lin's original body. The original body clenched his fists and slowly stood up. After silently pondering for a long time, he rushed out. There was a series of rumbles as the layers of earth above him shattered. A loud bang echoed as the original body charged out from underground on the east side of the planet. A large amount of dust scattered everywhere. After he charged out, he didn't stop, he rushed into space. Once he entered space, he spread out his arms and crisp, crackling sounds constantly came from his body. These sounds became more and more frequent and intense. The veins on his body bulged and a muffled, thunderous roar kept coming out from inside his body. His body gradually changed. His legs thickened and slowly extended, and even his arms did the same. His entire body slowly grew as if he was being inflated like a balloon. At this moment, his body enlarged like crazy. During this process, an even more heavy sound came from his body like a roar from ancient times. There were no pain on his face, there was only calmness and the anger in his eyes. His body grew larger and larger. Half an incense stick of time later, a giant more than 1,000 feet tall appeared. His body gave off a savage aura and his skin was filled with coarse and subtle runes. The glow of the runes gave him an unimaginable sense of majesty. A low roar came out from his mouth. This roar seemed to come from ancient times and was filled with an aura that looked down upon the world. Everything within the range of the roar seemed to regain their memories of ancient times and all retreated. Even the fierce beasts on nearby planets all immediately lied on the ground and began trembling after hearing this roar. This was a trembling that came from their soul. The ancient god was the god of space. During the age when the ancient gods roamed, all living being had to respect them. At this moment, countless years after the ancient gods disappeared, this roar seemed to declare that the ancient gods had reappeared. Only at this moment did Wang Lin have the majesty of an ancient god. He was an ancient god. From 4 stars and onward, an ancient god's body would groan like crazy. Before, Wang Lin had suppressed this, but at this moment, he stopped suppressing it and let his ancient god body appear for the first time. Only by showing his ancient god body could he be called a real ancient god and have the power of an ancient god. Blood ancestor. You caused my avatar to go into a coma, so I'll destroy your blood planet. His eyes were filled with ruthlessness. When he took a step, it was as if the entire star system trembled. He walked through space as if he was on the ground and rushed off into the distance. As he walked, he raised his giant right hand and pointed to the spot between his eyebrows. A large amount of spiritual energy gathered in high fingertip to form an imprint filled with an ancient aura. This imprint landed between his eyebrows and made the 4 stars disappear. This imprint was not something cultivators could use, it was something only ancient gods could use, and it hid the identity of the ancient gods. Unless a very powerful cultivators appeared, it would be impossible for others to see through his identity. Since the Alliance star system has the giant demon clan, no one will think that my 1,000-foot-tall body is an ancient god. His eyes became cold. Compared to an adult ancient god, his body was insignificant and weak, so no one would think was an ancient god if they saw him. He had no expression as he charged through the blood planet. In the past, he saw the star map that the All-Seer gave him, so he naturally knew where the blood planet was. As he moved through space, his eyes narrowed. He saw several broken stones of varying sizes floating through space. These stones were common in space. As he stepped forward, he didn't stop and grabbed toward a 100-foot wide stone. As he let out a roar, the stone was attracted by a force created by spiritual energy and he continued moving forward. After he left, 2 cultivators came out from a slightly smaller piece of stone. The 2 of them were trembling with fear as they stared dumbfoundedly at Wang Lin's original body disappearing into the distance. This? What is this? The 2 of them looked at each other. Their scalps tingled as they quickly escaped this place. Along the way, whenever Wang Lin encountered these stones, he would select those that were 100 feet large. He would grab them and use spiritual energy to drag them along. These were his weapons. In his memories, early-stage ancient gods didn't have many spells and liked using these as weapons. It seemed like these things were easy to use, and the more he had, the better. Wang Lin headed toward the blood planet with a trail of stones that looked like a river following him. He carried with him a grim killing intent as he came closer and closer. Kill. The blood planet was a planet filled with a blood-colored light. It was not located within planet Qianyun's sphere of influence and was a bit far from it. In truth, none of the powerful cultivators who had the power to use an entire cultivation planet as their cave would choose to be too close to each other. Even those who were very good friends were the same. After all, they couldn't drop their guard against others. These old monsters that had cultivated for many years were especially aware of this. Similarly, a cultivator who was powerful enough to use an entire planet as their cave would naturally not need the protection of planet Qianyun. Thus, it was natural for them to choose a remote place for their cave. The most important part of choosing the location of their cave was for it to be outside the range of everyone else's divine sense range. Otherwise, your every move would be perceived. The blood ancestor was a cultivator with secrets, so he was even more cautious when choosing his cave. On the map the All-Seer gave Wang Lin, the blood planet was extremely remote without any planet that housed powerful cultivators nearby. This was one of the reasons why Wang Lin's original body was attacking it. Wang Lin's original body headed toward the blood planet with a cold expression and a river of stones behind him. Space was simply too large. Wang Lin's original body seemed so insignificant in comparison. Along the way, he didn't pause at all, he charged non-stop toward the blood planet with cold killing intent and a river of stones. Several months flashed by. When he encountered other cultivators, all of them were startled and didn't act rashly. They didn't know anything about ancient gods. Even among the 4-star systems, only a few people even knew they existed, and even then, it was only from reading ancient records. What's more, those ancient gods recorded were often adult ancient gods with 6 stars or more. Their bodies were even larger than cultivation planets, a unique trait of the ancient gods. A 4-star ancient god's ancient god aura was not obvious. Among cultivators, unless they had personally seen the ancient gods, it would be impossible to associate him with the ancient gods that have been extinct for countless years. This was one of the reasons why Wang Lin decided to reveal his original body's true form. These various reasons were merely side objectives. The real reason came from Wang Lin's revolting personality. The avatar was seriously injured and forced into a coma. Even the unbreakable connection between the original body and the avatar was very weak at this moment, and it felt as if it could break at any moment. Once the connection was gone, it meant the avatar was dead. Powerful killing intent filled his heart. The avatar had been painstakingly cultivated for many years. In truth, there was no primary or secondary body to him. The original body was him and the avatar was him as well. If the avatar died, then that meant he was killed once. If his original body chose to hide and wait until his cultivation level was higher to reappear, then he would no longer be Wang Lin. There were times that he had to do things even when the consequences were unfavorable. The chance of being discovered as an ancient god is extremely low, but even if I was found out, so what? His eyes became colder and he moved even faster. Although Wang Lin couldn't use a lot of the spells he had inherited from the memories of the ancient god, there were many life-saving spells that he could now use since he was almost a 4-star ancient god. The most effective spell among them was the spell the ancient gods used to protect their young, spirit transformation. To enter a planet not to absorb spiritual energy but to surround oneself in spiritual energy and enter a dormant state. Unless one encounters another ancient god, no one else is able to detect it. This was the spell of an ancient god. It was many levels higher than the spells cultivators used. The only thing I need to worry about is Tar Sen. However, with his 8-star ancient god body, he will be recognized by those powerful cultivators as soon as he appears. Even if he causes havoc in the Alliance star system, what does it have to do with me? I, Wang Lin, am not a saint. His eyes became even colder. There were many blood slaves on the blood planet. These people were controlled by the blood ancestor and had the blood ancestor's branding on their souls. If the blood ancestor lives, they live, and if the blood ancestor dies, they die. Most of these were people that he had forcibly kidnapped from nearby planets. He took away their freedom and forced them to work for him. He also collected gifted youths that he fed blood pills to and groomed them to be blood guardians that protected the blood planet. The blood ancestor was a very cold person, only toward his daughter would he show a rare sign of kindness. It could be said that aside from the blood ancestor and his daughter, all other living things were their slaves. Their lives and deaths were controlled by but a thought. Zixin was sitting upon an altar outside the blood pavilion with anxiety on her face. She should occasionally look back at the blood pavilion. That place was a forbidden area, not even she was allowed to enter. At this moment, several rays of blood light came from the distance and rapidly closed in. 4 elders appeared before Zixin. The 4 of them all gave off origin energy, clearly they were all powerful cultivators who had reached the second step. One of the old men lowered his head and said, "Mistress, another group of blood slaves died." Zixin bit her lower lip and silently pondered. Over the past few months, large amounts of blood slaves and blood guardians had inexplicably exploded and died. As of today, more than 70% had died. This matter filled Zixin with distress. The only explanation was that something had happened to the blood ancestor. One of the old men raised his head as he stared at Zixin and slowly asked, "Mistress, where exactly did Lord Blood Ancestor go?" Zixin's eyes became cold as she coldly said, "Impudent. Is this something you can ask?" This made Zixin even more anxious. Before, none of them would dare to say something like this, but at this moment, even Zixin wondered if the blood ancestor was dying. The old man sneered as he turned around and walked away. His mood was very bad, but there was also a trace of relief. His body also contained the blood ancestor's imprint, but right now it wasn't important. Ever since I was forcibly branded by the Blood Ancestor 6,000 years ago, I can't even take half a step out of the Blood Planet without the Blood Ancestor's order. Now the Blood Ancestor has obviously encountered misfortune. This old man, if I'm going to die, I'd rather die in my hometown than here. The old man's eyes were filled with sorrow and he headed straight for space. The three elders all looked up at the sky and watched their companion disappear into the sky. After silently pondering, the three of them looked at each other. They no longer spoke and flew into the sky. Zixin's eyes became cold as she stood up and shouted, "You guys have guts. Are you all not afraid the Blood Ancestor will return?" However, before she finished speaking, one of the old men lowered his head. He looked at her coldly and said, "Noisy. You are only one of the Blood Ancestor's playthings. Do you really think you are the mistress? I and the other cultivators give you respect because of the Blood Ancestor. Without him, what are you worth? I have been on the Blood Planet for almost 10,000 years and have seen at least a dozen girls like you." After leaving behind this line, this person disappeared into the sky. Zixin's body trembled and she began to ponder. When the four red-robed old men flew into the sky, the remaining blood slaves that hadn't died all looked up and struggled. No one knew who was the first, but after that, almost all of the blood slaves flew away. Zixin looked at all of this and revealed a decisive gaze. She appeared before the blood pavilion and remembered the seals that the Blood Ancestor had used to open it. She hesitated for a moment before clenching her teeth. Just at this moment, the entire sky suddenly darkened and a powerful pressure instantly covered the entire Blood Planet. Zixin was startled and looked up, but what she saw made her face pale. "This? What is this?" In space, the first four red-robed elders all looked at each other. They didn't need to speak and knew of the other's decision. They clasped their hands at each other and were about to separate when they suddenly looked into the distance. A river made of stones was whistling through space toward the Blood Planet. There was a giant more than 1,000 feet tall standing above the long river. His eyes were cold and filled with killing intent. The four red-robed old men's eyes narrowed and they quickly looked at each other. They immediately flew away in four different directions, completely ignoring that giant that was coming over. "Blood Ancestor, even you can have a day like this." The same words appeared at almost the same time within the four old men's minds. Behind the four old men was a large amount of blood slaves. When they entered space, they were startled by the giant, but they all quickly left. None of them stayed to defend the Blood Planet and they all revealed sneers. Some didn't even escape too far but stayed near the Blood Planet. They wanted to personally watch the demise of the Blood Planet. With Wang Lin's wisdom, he was immediately able to realize what was happening with those blood slaves. He didn't stop them but quickly charged toward the Blood Planet with a large amount of stones. When he was very close to the Blood Planet, he rose above the stone river. Each of his hands grabbed a 100 feet large stone and he threw them toward the Blood Planet. A loud rumble echoed as the two stones smashed toward the Blood Planet like two meteors. The moment the stones got near the planet, a blood-light screen appeared and caused the two stones to shatter. Wang Lin's eyes became even more cold. He waved his hand and without pause threw one stone after another toward the Blood Planet. In the end, Wang Lin stretched open his arms and used his spiritual energy to pull the entire stone river toward the Blood Planet. Countless stones smashed down. Although the blood-light screen was strong, without the control of the Blood Ancestor, it was limited. Facing Wang Lin's youth ancient god power, the blood-light screen collapsed after half an incense stick of time. Large amounts of stones fell on the Blood Planet. Every time one landed, the entire planet would tremble and a circular shockwave visible to the eye would immediately appear and spread in all directions. Zixin's face was pale. The shaking of the ground and the destructive power caused her mind to tremble. She saw those large stones descend from the sky, and each one would cause the earth to tremble violently. She couldn't imagine what kind of power and spell could do something like this. Too terrifying, Zixin clenched her teeth and fear surged through her body like a tidal wave. She looked at the blood pavilion before her as her hand formed seals imitating the Blood Ancestor. Throughout the years she had been on the Blood Planet, she secretly paid attention to the hand signs used every time the blood ancestor opened the pavilion and firmly remembered them in her heart. She would often secretly practice, but she didn't dare to set the blood pavilion as her goal. Now that the blood ancestor was dying, the blood planet was in a mess, and a foreign force was invading, she no longer had to worry. Her hands moved faster and faster until a red flash came from the blood pavilion. A vague, red passage appeared and Zixin's eyes were filled with excitement. Just at this moment, the sky suddenly darkened once more and a giant shadow was cast over her. Zixin was startled and subconsciously looked up. This caused her to become completely stunned. In the sky, a 1,000-foot-tall giant was coming toward her through the void. Its icy gaze landed directly on Zixin. Zixin's body trembled. She could see that behind the giant were large stones crashing toward the earth. A deep sense of fear emerged inside her heart. She immediately lowered her head to look at the blood pavilion and charged toward the passage without any hesitation. However, just as she stepped in, a sharp and miserable scream came from her mouth. The red light from the tunnel landed on her and her body decayed at a visible rate. Green smoke came from her body and even her origin soul collapsed. In Wang Lin's gaze, the woman's body turned into green smoke and was absorbed into the blood-colored passage. Wang Lin coldly looked at the blood pavilion. He reached out and grabbed the blood pavilion along with the 100 feet of earth around it. At this moment, the stones from the sky continued to descend and the entire blood planet was a wreck. Wang Lin held the blood pavilion in one hand and his other hand formed a fist and pummeled the earth. Among the loud rumbles, the blood planet became even more unstable. Layers of ripples spread and dust flew everywhere. A moment later, Wang Lin flew away from the blood planet and disappeared far into the distance. None of the blood slaves and blood guardians tried to stop any of this. In fact, most of them clasped their hands at where Wang Lin disappeared to. Shortly after Wang Lin left, their eyes were filled with confusion. It was as if invisible shackles had been released, and all of them dispersed to return to their homes that they had not seen in a long time. The destruction of the blood planet didn't set off a large wave in the Alliance star system. Due to the fact that the blood planet was so remote, no one became aware of this matter until a long time had passed. Wang Lin's original body had left with the blood pavilion. As he flew through space, his body slowly shrank until he was the size of a normal cultivator once more. As for the blood pavilion, he sealed it and swallowed it. When it was inside him, it was surrounded by his spiritual energy. This blood pavilion was very strange, so Wang Lin decided to carefully study it. After finding a rank 6 cultivation planet, Wang Lin snuck in. He found a place deep within the planet and hid himself. The connection in his soul with his avatar became more stable. It is worth mentioning that although this trip had attracted the attention of some powerful cultivators, it was not linked to the ancient gods. After all, the ancient gods had disappeared far too long ago. In the All-Heaven star system, there was a fragment slowly drifting through the void of the Thunder Celestial realm. At this moment, large amount of clouds that shouldn't appear were quickly condensing toward this fragment, and within them were hidden rumbles. Shortly after, a bolt of thunder came out from the clouds and landed on the fragment. The thunder quickly dispersed through the fragment, quickly found Wang Lin in a coma, and entered his body. Wang Lin's body suddenly trembled. Shortly after, countless thunderbolts gathered and descended on the ground. This caused the fragment to tremble again and a large amount of rocks fell off the edge of the cliff. The blood ancestor was staring at the fragment from a distance. He could clearly feel half his blood body on that fragment, and the origin energy within was being rapidly absorbed. This feeling made him want to go mad. This was the first time he wanted to kill someone but had inadvertently helped that person grow. However, he was afraid to move. He carefully looked at the clouds above the fragment. He could feel that the power inside them was slowly brewing and growing stronger. This is divine retribution. I didn't think that this person's cultivation could actually cause divine retribution. I presume that the heaven's might that went into the demon spirit land back then was caused by him as well. The blood ancestor's eyes became cold. The stronger the divine retribution is, the better. If I charged in, I would just end up helping him instead. I'll simply wait here and watch him get killed by the divine retribution. That will be very satisfying as well. The blood ancestor sneered as he stared at the fragment and hatred filled his eyes. The fragment stopped floating due to the restriction placed on it from the large amount of clouds gathering. A large amount of clouds gathered here and another bolt of thunder landed on the fragment. The fragment trembled once more and the edges shattered even more. This process lasted for a month, and more thunder descended. When the blood ancestor looked over, he couldn't even see the edge of the clouds anymore. He retreated because he didn't want to provoke the might of the divine retribution. There was delight along with hatred in his heart as he muttered, "The more the better. More clouds should gather and kill that Wang Lin. Only then can this old man's hatred be dispelled." More and more clouds gathered. Several days later, not only were the clouds above the fragment, the clouds were even around the fragment. The fragment was no longer visible and all one could see were clouds. At this moment, it was as if the preparation for the divine retribution was complete, and divine retribution arrived. Countless thunderbolts appeared from the clouds and landed on the fragment. This thunder didn't only come from above but from all the clouds that had surrounded the fragment. Loud, thunderous roars echoed across the void. The fragment continued to collapse under the thunder from the clouds. The thunder moved through the fragment and rushed to Wang Lin, who was in a coma. Wang Lin's body would tremble every time a bolt of thunder entered his body, and countless bolts of thunder had surged into his body. Shuligua was terrified and could only hide inside the celestial sword. Even one bolt of this thunder was fatal to him. At this moment, inside Wang Lin's body, the power of the old man and the blood ancestor were negating each other. Normally, this process would take a long time, but the constant bolts of thunder entering his body were rapidly speeding up this process. The origin energy inside his body increased like crazy. Not only did the thunder from the divine retribution not damage his body, the benefits were unimaginable. However, he was unconscious. If he was awake, the benefits would be even greater with his guidance. Large amounts of thunder fell endlessly on the fragment. It was as if the fragment was inside a furnace made by the heavens and being refined by heavenly thunder. This kind of refining was extremely rare in the current cultivation world because not many materials could survive such a powerful bombardment from heavenly thunder. If there was, then it had to be the fragments of the Thunder Celestial Realm. This land was originally part of the Thunder Celestial Realm, and it had spent countless years surrounded by celestial thunder. Although it had collapsed, it was still part of the Thunder Celestial Realm. Although the edges of the fragment were breaking off under the endless bombardment of heavenly thunder, the center became even more sturdy due to the thunder moving through it. It could be said that as it was refined by the heavenly thunder, it became more and more like a magical treasure. This power contained within the fragment was unimaginable because its material wasn't something ordinary, it was a fragment of the celestial realm. If that was just the case, it wouldn't be too special, but it wasn't something that was refined by cultivators, it was fined by the heavens. The blood ancestor gradually realized this and he sucked in a breath of cold air. His eyes were filled with greed. There weren't many treasures that could tempt someone at his cultivation level. However, when he realized that this fragment was turning into a magical treasure by chance, his heart suddenly began to pound. Gains and losses are determined by fate. This old man have lost too much this time. If this fragment is refined by the heavens, its power will be completely different. It might be able to display the true power of the celestial realm. This treasure was prepared for me. The blood ancestor's eyes revealed excitement. Thunder continued to descend, but at this moment, all of the thunder suddenly disappeared. A drastic change occurred inside the clouds and a bolt of black thunder began to brew inside them. This bolt of black thunder was the real divine retribution. It quickly condensed and charged toward the fragment. At the same time, Wang Lin, who was in the depths of the fragment, opened his eyes. This video will end here.